Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where I talk about everything you need to know about living and playing in Salt Lake City, Utah. My name is Brenda Espinoza and I am a local real estate agent here in town. And this is Chris. He is a lender. We're just gonna go over just what is happening in the Salt Lake market as of recently. Everybody asks if the market is going to crash, and people always tell me your honest opinion. Like, should I wait for the market to crash?
It's my favorite question.
Like, they look me in the eyes and they're like, tell me the truth. But the reality is, like, nobody knows. Like, I don't know if the market's gonna crash. All that I know is the information that is given and that we can see and that we can compare to past crashes, like '08, which is like nothing like this market at all.
Look at trends, obviously, and what's going on with the current market and what has happened before.
Exactly.
And look at finance world, at least, or those things.
For sure, you want to know the trends, and because real estate, it's in cycles, and history repeats itself. So if you just look at history and you evaluate the information, you can kind of get an idea of what's going to happen next. Things is like the recession. Everybody's like, there has to be a recession because inflation is so out of control, which I kind of agree with. I'm like, I mean, yeah, we probably are going to go into a recession, but real estate is local. And Utah's economy is so strong that if there is a recession, we probably won't feel it the way it might be felt on a national scale. And also, in a recession, historically, home values go up. So based off of like this market and the lack of inventory and millennials and boomers competing for like the same house, the two biggest generations, I don't see how it could crash just based off of that information alone.
I agree. I somewhat agree with you. I guess as far as people assume that a recession has to happen, it's not true. It's not always been true. We've had hyperinflation in many decades that have happened and we didn't hit a recession. '08 happened, people are trying to compare this with the '08 recession.
It's literally nothing.
'08 was basically us just printing money and loaning out to anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody that, I don't have a job, I'm on unemployment, here's a house for you, here's a $300,000 loan. And the issue was that the bank got very carried away and they,
and people who could not afford the house eventually couldn't make the payments. Mm-hmm. And so that really caused it to tumble. Yeah. However, now people who are buying homes have been vetted to like, you absolutely can pay for this house. And because inflation has been so crazy, if they can't pay for the house, like during COVID, everyone's like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be so many foreclosures. Like, it's gonna be great. We're gonna buy all this real estate for $200,000. Yeah. But people have so much equity in their homes, which in '08 they didn't. Correct. So if they can't afford it, they'll just sell it. Correct. And have so much money.
Yeah, correct.
And move on.
Especially, and that's the thing do I think a recession is gonna happen? No.
You don't?
No, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be, it's not going to be recession, it's going to be a turn of events. And I think what's going to happen is dependent, not even get political, but just dependent on how things end up overseas, what we end up doing over there, how, the market, if it becomes more bullish or stays where it's at. Those are all things that play into what happens during a recession. You might think is a downturn or a recession, but it's only because we're trying to correct itself.
I agree with that. I think it's a correction that's happening, and it's already starting to happen. Correct. With that mid-price point, we're starting to see price drops because it's like, you got to get real, and it's starting to get to that point because of inventory going up. So it's hitting there. Builders, there was a report that they have lost, like they're losing, and so that's like one of the signs that the market is shifting. Like, builders really feel it first.
What's hurting the market also is people are scared. And so
they are scared, which is so unfortunate.
Yeah, and that's it's unfortunate because you hear a lot like, I'm going to wait a year, and then what happens in a year? Well, now the same home you were looking at that was $550, now it's $600, mm-hmm. And even though it was harder, it was hard enough to get either approved for that, or you were just scared it's going to be even harder in the future, right? And then the people that weren't scared to take the leap of faith are going to be sitting $50,000, $100,000.
Sitting pretty.
Sitting pretty. The reason they're scared, and you can tell it's scary, is by seeing things like on the market. Like, for example, there were so many cancellations of contract in one day, not with Academy, but just along the whole side of mortgage industry.
With interest rates
People,
went up?
Yeah, people canceling their contracts
Wow.
for their builds and purchases, and it happened all in one day. And it's because people were scared. And then what you saw was, once you saw that trend happen, and they saw that the rates weren't just going to skyrocket to 10%, right? As people think, it's just going to skyrocket.
That would definitely cause some sort of depression. We would be beyond a recession. We would be in the Great Depression, which the government doesn't want us to be broke. They want us to spend money. So they're definitely not going to put us in a depression.
No. And the thing is that the government is trying to buy down and help out the market right now. But, like I said, it depends on what goes on outside of also the U.S. that plays a part of how much they're going to spend in our market. The biggest thing, rates were going up steadily, and now they've plateaued, and they're actually starting to kind of go down.
People get scared, but historically, 5.1 is still low.
That's a good rate.
Comparatively, I think people just got so used.
5 years ago,
right, like 8%.
Yeah,
that was like, 8%, cool, less than 10.
People were happy. Yeah. There were people that had 12% rates and were like, cool, I got a house.
Right.
But now it seems scary because, house values have gone up, but the thing is, that's just going to keep happening.
It's the truth. Like, over time, I always tell people, like, over a 10-year period, real estate has never lost value. Ever. Even in a recession, even in a depression. As long as you can hold on to the thing, if you can just afford to make your payments, then you're golden. It doesn't matter what the market does. What opinion do you give to people when they're like, is the market going to crash? Like, what is your honest opinion, Chris? What do I do?
If I could foretell the future, I would be rich on an island somewhere, obviously. I mean, as I said, I don't think we're going to have a market crash, at least not anytime soon. And I don't think it's going to be a crash where we think it's going to be like, oh wait, it's not going to be anything like it.
It'll be like a soft
It's going to
landing
be a
of life.
shift. I don't think you're going to lose value on your home. And even if you did, let's say worst case scenario, like 08, people talk about how much value they lost in their homes, right? But the reality of it is there was a turnaround within 30 months.
Yeah,
So the people that hung on, that had a normal fixed rate mortgage, they were fine after 2.5 years, 3 years. People are a lot more educated nowadays and understanding that rates, there's always a change in the rates every 2 or so years. The beautiful thing is if you have professionals behind you, like yourself and myself, you don't have to gamble.
You can just tell based off information. You can get a good idea. And so just talking to someone, I think that's kind of the first step. Is if you are curious, like, don't try to figure it out all by yourself, because it's so overwhelming and so scary. And so part of my job and Chris's job is just to inform you and just kind of hold your hand if you do decide to go down that road. And if you don't, then that's fine. And when you're ready, then we'll be here. That is all the information. Hopefully that wasn't too overwhelming. And people are really scared to buy a home right now, which is completely understandable. But our goal is just to give you the information and you do with it what you will. But if you have any questions about any of the stuff that we talked about, you feel free to reach out to myself or Chris, and we would be happy to guide you through it and get you into a home. So thanks so much for watching. See you next time. We did it.
I say we killed it on that.